I believe is the pronunciation, and Linda Erig, you both had questions about the NIH, which I believe got addressed relative to the funding for NIH, so I just wanted to recognize those questions.
Yeah, Pitt is the 6th largest institution that receives NIH funding. So just keep that in mind.
Okay. So listen, I'm a community person to my core, so I want to get as many of your questions answered. So I'm clustering them for that purpose, as I mentioned before. So with that said, Pam Westner, Catherine Max, Barbara Finch, David Kay, Jessica Newton, Terry McGinnis, Mary Michael Tribune, David Salagaro, I'm sorry, I think I'm mispronouncing that.
And like 5 more of y'all.
and Sarah Reiser, all are quite worried about our democracy. And all of them have questions about how to actually engage what is the legislative power that can be utilized right now, what power can be leveraged in this moment to preserve a number of things that we talked about tonight. So I think the question is,
what can we do? What can we do? I thought that was going to be the first question. What can we do? So to engage the legislative power, I started by talking about the fact that we're co-equal branches of government. That is how our system is intended to work. And again, we cannot relinquish that unless we relinquish it. So when I think about the strategy, we are not down and out when it comes to Republicans. I know everybody, we get mad at us, the Democrats, because we sometimes are the only people who will listen. We sometimes don't expect the other party to listen or to act. But the reality is that Mike Johnson has a gavel. And he can decide what bills come to the table. He can whip his members. And right now, he has a very tenuous coalition. He does not have the votes. So when we talk about the legislative power that we did last year, we actually were able to do a lot to stop Republicans. Believe it or not, in a minority, Democrats stopped them. When Republicans were trying to take us over the debt ceiling limit, they were trying to tie that to their budget ask. We actually talked them off the ledge because they out-negotiated themselves. They did the same thing with the budgets when they tried to cut Medicaid, Social Security. We actually, from a minority, were able to stop them. And that's like unsung. We don't think about that a lot because sometimes you don't talk about the bullets that missed you. But a lot of bullets missed us in the 118th Congress because Democrats stayed organized and disciplined and Republicans were in shambles. That's actually the same scenario now, but they now have the Senate and they also have the White House. But the Republicans in the House, my Republicans, they have a smaller majority than they did last time, and they are still as in disarray. They don't have votes because they don't agree for a number of reasons, because some people on one extreme want it to be worse, but this is the more important one. There are many Republicans who know they can't cut Medicaid. They know that they can't cut Social Security, and they are afraid. And right now, they're trying to decide if they're more afraid of Donald Trump or if they're more afraid of you. And what we need to say is that you need to be more afraid of us. So when I say that we're not down and out yet, they have something like a 3-vote majority. 3-4 Republicans can and will be the difference between whether or not we remain a democracy or whether or not we give all of our power as a co-equal branch to a dictator. So we need to be putting pressure on them. We need to identify them. And let me tell you something, some of those Republicans are right here in Pennsylvania. Because we have some Republicans who won by the slimmest margins in their races, both on the Senate side and on the House side. We have Republicans right now who are in districts that Biden and Harris both times won, or some that we can flip. And they are always on the list of people who are concerned about the bills that we're running. So we want them to know that they can come over to our side, that they can preserve our democracy. And if they don't, we want them to know that they will have no comfort, whether they're in D.C. or in their districts. And as a Democratic Party, we are also focusing on that, which is why you're going to be seeing ads go into their districts. When they go home, they're going to be met by ads that say, this person wanted to cut your Medicaid. This person voted for a dictator. This person is an insurrectionist who did not believe in the rule of law. We're going to be doing that. And we also need people to be engaged in their constituents, because that is incredibly powerful. So when we think about the first thing that we have, the first fail-safe in our democracy are going to be four Republicans. That's the first thing. The second thing is the power of people. Again, I keep going back to this, not because I'm absolving myself of power, but because you are more powerful. And I am most powerful when you are organized. So we're going to see actions, and they're going to escalate across the country, because those are how we put parameters. On the day of the funding freeze, if you might remember it, when Donald Trump signed an executive order that said that we're going to freeze every federal grant and loan that exists. Well, Medicaid was one of them, and all the Medicaid portals shut down. And all over the country, in Democratic districts and Republican districts, we saw people stand up and say, what are you doing? And the first thing they had to do before the night was over was start to walk that back. That's the people putting a parameter on someone who's trying to be a dictator. The reason why he is ruling by executive order is because the Republican Party is actually weak. They can't rule by legislation because they don't have the votes. If they had the votes, we wouldn't need to see Donald Trump writing and signing his name all day, every day. He has to do it because he's not powerful enough to move his own party. He's still not powerful enough to move them. So we have to target those people and know who's actually behind this. So when we think, yes, so the House Republicans, we got to use the filibuster. We got to use it. Like, we got the tools. Y'all wouldn't get rid of it when we said that it was a relic of the Jim Crow era. And since it's still there, use it. So we got to put pressure on our Senate Dems to actually use the power that they have. It's ridiculous. So that's the second thing we got to do. We need them to do more. We need them to not back down. It is the leverage that they have. And in our next budget fight, we need the Republicans to know that it's not going to go down the way this last one did. That was weakness. And we can't afford to show weakness right now. We all know that we don't want to shut down the government. None of us wants to shut down the government. But more than that, I don't want you to be robbed. I don't want you to be abused and taken advantage of. And that's the mindset that we have to have right now. So that's number two. Ask them about that. Make sure that they are using the power that they have. And the third thing was you all, the power of you all and organized blocks. It may not be or feel like it's powerful when you call individually, but when you call as a collective, it actually does move people. We see Senator McCormick. He knows that he won by a vote and a half. He knows that. And he knows that it's not going to be easy to win again. But that's also power that we have as Pennsylvanians to say that we want you as our Republican senator who has access to the president, who has access to Republican leadership. We need you to be our eyes and ears, not theirs. So we need to make him decide, who does he serve? Does he serve Trump or does he serve you? Those are things that we need to do right now to fortify our democracy. And then we already talked about some of the other things like the Civil Liberties Organization.